Hi everyone, I'm Ili. Welcome to Hello Spring Festival 2021, HHWT's virtual event in celebration of the Lunar New Year. Whether you celebrate or not, everyone is welcome to join in on the fun because we have plenty of exciting things in store for you. We have articles and videos about how you can spend the CNY long weekend, awesome giveaways, and lucky draws for you to participate in. We have one grand draw and two mini draws, and all you have to do to join is just head over to hellospringfest.com and click on the red packet lucky draw booth. Now, besides the lucky draws, we also have our live shows, of course. And in this segment today, we'll be diving into things like what you should take note of when visiting relatives and how you can stay healthy throughout the festive season. And of course, as we all know, COVID-19 has impacted all of us. And this is a time where everyone is, getting more conscious about their health and practicing better hygiene more than before. And it's typically during the festival season when we get to meet up with people, come into contact with others. But for the Lunar New Year celebrations this year, it will definitely be a lot more toned down because in Malaysia, we are in lockdown and everyone is under a movement control order, MCO, while in Singapore, you are only allowed to visit a maximum of 2 households and only 8 visitors are allowed in your home per day. So for those of you who are looking to, visit your relatives and curious about how you can stay healthy while enjoying the festivities, we have Dr. Farah Izzati joining us today to shed some light on some of these concerns and do a little bit of sharing on her own. So I'm here to welcome Dr. Farah Izzati.
Hello, hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi, you just popped on the screen. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I understand you are now currently in Johor Bahru, yes? Am I correct?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
living and working in Johor Bahru.
Nice. Well, I'm in Selangor, so we're both basically in lockdown together.
Yeah.
Okay, so for our audience, Dr. Farah, do you mind just sharing a little bit more about yourself, your work, and basically what you specialize in?
Okay. Hello, hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Farah Izzati binti Yusof. I'm a medical officer in working in emergency department in one of a private hospital in Johor Bahru. I've been working in emergency department for the past 8 years. What I really like about accident and emergency is that every shift is unpredictable. It can be sometimes it can be very busy, but sometimes it isn't too busy. You just don't know what comes next. And for me, being able to diagnose patients and making the right decisions during stressful situations are very self-rewarding to me, and that makes me stay in this field of medicine. I'm actually trying to advocate healthy lifestyle through my social media platform. So I always highlight the importance of taking care of ourselves and having a work-life balance, no matter how busy we can be. And I also love to travel, and I really can't wait to start travel again once it is safe to do so.
I completely agree. I miss traveling too, and I'm sure like a lot of people feel the same way, and cannot wait until borders open and the pandemic is over so we can travel. And you touched briefly on working at an A&E for I think what close to a decade, correct? Right, for a really like long time. So I
Yeah,
was
for the last
yeah, exactly. So I was wondering, what has that experience been like, especially during COVID-19?
the COVID-19 pandemic has actually changed the way we practice medicine. Apart from having to wear our full PPE at work, we always have to keep ourselves updated with the current guidelines on managing patients. Before this pandemic, we have to attend courses, workshops, and trainings. But since the pandemic, all is done via online webinar. But this can be quite challenging for us because virtual training can never replace the actual life, real life practice. So this has been one of the challenge that every doctors face during this pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine how like challenging it is. But would you say then that virtual experience is your biggest challenge that you faced so far?
Yeah. Virtual is it's difficult for in the field of medicine because it involves a lot of hands-ons. So the virtual training can really never replace the real life training.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, for you as someone, who's like a frontliner during a pandemic, I'm sure like this is by no means an easy job. So really, truly, thank you for, doing what you do. And, as we are all dealing with COVID-19, we have another very tricky layer to add on top of that because we are in the festive period, the like, Lunar New Year. So, and even though in Malaysia we are in lockdown and we cannot leave our houses to visit other people, but for our friends in Singapore, they are allowed to, visit loved ones and actually go out and have family reunion dinners. And I'm sure like one of the main concerns that definitely has, crossed minds would be, coming into contact with a lot of people. So was wondering, if you could share what are some of the things they can do to really keep safe during this time?
Okay, so festive seasons are usually filled with traditions and gatherings with families and friends. But since COVID-19 it has changed the way we celebrate our Hari Raya, Lunar New Year, and so on. So actually, according to WHO, the safest way to celebrate the festive season is actually by celebrating it with the members of your household. Although limiting holiday activities may be the right thing to do, but it isn't easy. After all, the family traditions and visits and gatherings with your loved one bring joy during these difficult times. When planning for family visits or gatherings, we should always consider the risks within our community and our family. Is the area that you are going to visit is a hotspot area or red zone area? Is your family, is any members of your family is at risk of getting severely ill if they get infected with COVID-19? So these are the two main factors that you should consider before you planning for visits or gatherings. If you choose to see your family host gatherings, consider making it as smaller gatherings by limiting the number of your guests. And like the government, Singapore government have suggested, it should be limited to up to 8 people at a time during the gatherings. Other things that opting for outdoor gatherings rather than indoors can ensure there's safety and the social distance can be maintained between guests. If outdoor gatherings is not possible, we should always find a room that is well ventilated and spacious enough for people to maintain their social distance. And also, we have to wear masks all the time. That's the most important part of preventing yourself from getting COVID-19.
So, with all of these things in mind, I'm sure there are a few things that you expect. When you go and visit your loved ones or your relatives. Like, for example, if you go to someone's house and the food is all laid out. You have your desserts and your snacks just laid out in the open. So, I was wondering if is this a concern with the pandemic going on?
There is concern that COVID-19 survives on surfaces and can transmit disease to a person. Even during the early stage of the pandemic, researchers have found that COVID-19 can survive on surfaces like plastic, stainless steel, up to 3 days. And but actually, the studies have not only proved that the virus stays alive on surfaces, not that you can catch it that way and transmit it that way. The only main transmissions of COVID-19 is by respiratory droplets and also airborne. So, in my opinion, the chances of transmission through surfaces is very small. So only in instances when someone cough or sneeze on that surface, only that it can be someone touch the surface, then only he can get infected. It's
Right.
actually the people, not the surface, that should be the main cause of concern. That's why we couldn't emphasize more on how on the importance of wearing masks and social distance.
Right, I see. Yeah, because when it comes to food, and I'm sure you can agree, during the festive season, you get so excited and you don't really like think of all of these things. So this is something very important, and I hope that everyone who's tuning in is really taking note of this. And another thing that is very common during the festive season, whether it's for Lunar New Year or even Hari Raya, is the giving of angpaos or duit raya. And is it a bad idea to give physical packets? And if it is, are there any other alternatives that you can suggest?
Like I've mentioned, it is theoretically possible to get infected from touching the surface, infected surface, but it's highly unlikely because it requires a sequence of events. Let's say for the ampao, the persons that give you ampao might first get the infection and cough and sneeze on the packet, and it has to be a large amount of virus present and survive on the surface before someone else touch the surface. And without washing your hands, then you put your hand on the mouth and nose and your eyes, then only you become infected. So it's actually not a bad practice, but it all depends on the person preference, because not everyone is responding to the COVID pandemic the same way. So you should always can always ask the person about their preference, whether they want to receive physical ampao or virtual ampao. You can even give gift cards or e-vouchers that you can redeem online.
Right. I mean that would be quite severe, right? If someone is to like cough and sneeze and do everything on the house and then hand it over. I think that's pretty
Yeah.
severe. Yeah, and since there are so many alternatives, so like that doesn't give you a reason not to get your ang paos, okay? Everyone this year, or even your do it raya for like the coming months, okay? And now that we've talked a little bit about like the food and the physical packets, but another concern that comes with this, visiting relatives is, going to see those who are of high risk. And this includes, your elder relatives. And because, during the festive season, visiting your elderly is a sign of respect. So I was wondering, like, what's your take on that? Because it feels like a very tricky, like, fine line for some people.
Okay, in this age of COVID era, knowing how to protect your loved one, especially our parents and our grandparents, are a sign of respect to them. You don't want to put them at risk of getting severely ill, or they might not survive the infection if they get it. So it's best to keep them at their home and do a virtual meeting with them instead of going to the traditional physical meeting visit.
Yeah, I agree with you because it's all about the virtual experience right now. I mean, including right now, doing this interview with you. So safety is definitely of the utmost importance, especially during this period. And as someone who is active in the medical field, I wanted to ask you if what are some of the most like common misconceptions about COVID-19 that you've heard or received like questions about.
Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions going on the social media, and also especially on social media. But the latest one is about the vaccine. That people are saying that the vaccine is not safe. Actually, the COVID vaccine followed the same process of all vaccines, all other vaccines, and it showed no major safety concerns in trials. And all vaccines actually have to go through rigorous safety testing, including these fast track vaccines that were developed quickly. And the FDA has set rigorous safety standards for the vaccines before they are approved, and uh, before they are given to all the people. So it's has been rumors that the vaccines contain a live virus as well, and that makes people afraid to get vaccinated. It's actually not a live virus that they use. It's just part of the mRNA, which is the dead virus, that COVID-19 makes your body to produce antibody against it.
Yeah, I think it's really great that you're sharing this with us because it gives more clarity. And like you said, there's so many things swirling on the internet right now, and it's so easy to just fall down into a rabbit hole of misinformation. So yeah, definitely important for you to share this. And yeah, I hope everyone tuning in is finding this really helpful. And so I wanted to touch on also how people are coping with this situation because, especially with Malaysia, we're drifting in and out of lockdown. So a lot of people are in isolation for prolonged periods of time. And, this can be very stressful emotionally and, mentally. So I was wondering, if you had any tips on how they can cope with it, because I noticed that you do a little bit of yoga yourself and you share this on your social media.
Yeah, I do yoga every day to keep my physical and mental health in check. Isolation and lockdown can bring a lot of myriads of emotions like depression and anxiety. And it is important to make time for ourselves every day, even just for 30 minutes a day, and engage in any sorts of physical activities. Do exercise that feel good for you. And because exercise not only helps to boost your immune system, but also it's good for your mental health. So actually taking care of your body and taking care of yourself is part of the ways to cope with the pandemic, with the lockdown and isolations. So I would say mental health is as important as our physical health, especially when there's still a lot of uncertainties and readjustments that we have to make in our daily lives.
So yeah, so everyone who's tuning in, I hope if you're whether you're looking for a new hobby or looking for a new way to distress, and like Dr. Farah said, physical movement at this point in time is also really important to just upkeep everything. So yeah, please take up on her tips because it will really help you power through this pandemic. And lastly, Dr. Farah, do you have any advice or words of encouragement for those who are in lockdown or even those who are just affected by the pandemic?
Okay, so tough time never lasts, but tough people do. I know the Lunar New Year is around the corner, but just like any other festive seasons, celebrations that got cancelled because of the pandemic, this is no exception. So let's all do our part by breaking the chain, and so that we can get back to our normal lives and celebrate our festive seasons like we used to, and also travel again soon. So let's hope for the best by making our part, by playing our part in this breaking the chain of the COVID-19.
Exactly. That's so well put. I mean, anyone who just like needs a little boost of encouragement, I hope you like found some strength in what Dr. Farah has shared with us. And this is it. I mean, we're at the end of our segment. This is all the time we have. Dr. Farah Izati, thank you so much for joining and sharing your tips and all these handy information. I hope everyone who tuned in really found it helpful. So yeah, thank you for joining us.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. And for those of you who are, still tuning in with us, you can go to www.hellospringfest.com to tune into more live shows that we have tomorrow, where we'll be bringing you on a virtual tour in Japan and also sharing with you some simple exercises you can do during the Lunar New Year weekend. And again, if you want to participate in the mini draws or the grand draw, you just go to hellospringfest.com and click on the red packet lucky draw booths. So we'll see you tomorrow at the next show. Bye.